munyarwanda, isuku ni isoko y'ubuzima. Zirikana ko isuku ku bagize umuryango wawe ari inshingano zawe. Isuku kuri buri munyarwanda, igihugu kizira indwara. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM. Umuco ni uzingira ry'ubukungu n'iterambere. Urubyiruko, mwe bayobozi b'ejo hazaza, muharanire kuwuteza imbere. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
Good evening, dear listener. Thank you for tuning in. This is Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM, broadcasting from Kigali. Here are the news in English, brought to you by Alvin Umngadi. The headlines. A team of Chinese medics sent to Rwanda by their government treated over 12,291 patients this year. Rwanda Biomedical Center say the country has picked a number of lessons from the previous outbreaks in the region and locally. 3 DR Congo ministers who are members of presidential candidate Moise Katumbi's party resigned this Wednesday. Italy said it was considered mandatory coronavirus tests for visitors from China following an explosion in cases there. We'll be back with news in detail. Thank you. Welcome back. A team of Chinese medics sent to Rwanda by their government treated over 12,291 patients this year. In 1982, the Chinese government initiated a program of sending medical teams to Rwanda on an annual basis as part of the efforts to enhance cooperation in the health sector. The Chinese medical team is often made up of about 15 medics who are deployed at Masaka and Chibungo hospitals. They work closely with their Rwandan counterparts to provide quality medical services and exchange experiences in medical practice with each other. According to information from the Chinese embassy, the non-stop medical program has seen more than 500,000 patients treated over the last 40 years. This year, the 22nd Chinese medical team, composed of 15 members, handled 12,291 cases, of which some 1,200 were surgeries, both minor and major ones. On Wednesday, the Chinese embassy in Rwanda organized an event of bidding them farewell as the 23rd team takes over from them. The team is made up of specialists in various fields, including surgery, orthopedics, dentistry, general medicine, anesthesiology, traditional Chinese medicine, and internal medicine. Speaking at the farewell event, the ambassador of China to Rwanda, Wang Shekun, noted that some of the members of the team have worked at the front line against COVID-19, in addition to carrying out a number of surgical operations and other procedures. He added that they have built sound relations and sincere friendships with the locals and have donated medical equipment and materials to hospitals in Kibungo and traveled to GS Mburabuturo School and Gahanga Health Center to provide free medical services to school students and villagers. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health, Zaki Yekaremye, told the media that the China medical team plays a good role in improving the health of Rwandans as it offers support to the local medics, especially in fields that have few specialists. Since 1982, 22 medical teams comprising more than 270 Chinese doctors have worked in Rwanda. Edson Gwagasore, the division manager in public health surveillance and emergency preparedness and response at the Rwanda Biomedical Center, RBC, say the country has picked a number of lessons from the previous outbreaks in the region and locally, like Ebola and COVID-19, are partly what inspired advanced preparedness. He said this includes 3 surveillance systems, the use of electronic community-based surveillance, integrated disease surveillance, One Health tool, and ecological investigation. Gwagasore added that the country has set up systems capable of identifying outbreaks before they become a pandemic, and talked about the seasonal flu, saying that it's not a new outbreak and that the virus infection is very common and that the number of people infected each season cannot be estimated because not everyone will seek medical care or get tested. He continued saying that people should seek treatment for such infections and not undermine the flu to avoid spreading it. According to the numbers shared by the Ministry of Health, they show an increase in seasonal flu cases during rainy seasons. The National Laboratory Surveillance testing shows that H3N2 influenza virus remains the most prevalent in Rwanda. According to the report from the CDC, flu is a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses that infect the nose, the throat, and sometimes the lungs. It can cause mild to severe illness and at times can lead to death. In Ruvune sector, in Gicumbi district of Northern Province, 2 young men have died as a Wolfram mine collapsed on them. The incident happened on 26 December 2022 around 4:50 p.m. It is said that young men were extracting minerals in an unlicensed mining site. The deceased are identified as Donat Idafasha, aged 18, and Noel Nakirutimana, aged 28. Following the incident, their bodies were taken by Byumba Hospital for post-mortem. The Executive Secretary of Ruvune Sector, Oscar Beningoma, has disclosed that the young men were extracting minerals from a pit near the home of a resident who immediately escaped. He said the deceased died while trying to excavate minerals from a toilet-like pit located in a banana plantation surrounding the resident's home. Beningoma also sent his condolences to the bereaved families, urged residents to abide by laws and avoid illegal mining activities. Police and residents in Kire district arrested a man identified as François Manigena, aged 25, on Monday with 3.5 bales of smuggled second-hand clothes. Manigena had snaked the bales into Rwanda from Tanzania by boat before he was intercepted in Rama village of Nyankurazo cell in Kigarama sector. Superintendent of Police Hamdun Twizeimana, the police spokesperson for the Eastern region, said Manigena was reported by local residents after they saw him crossing into Rwanda with the goods. Police in Kirehe had information about people who smuggled goods, especially second-hand clothes, into the country from Tanzania by boat through Akagera River. SP Twizeimana said on Monday at about midnight with credible information that they saw a man on the shores unloading goods from the boat. Police responded and arrested Manigena with 3.5 bales of used clothes. He commended the impacts of the public in fighting and preventing crimes, including smuggling and drug trafficking. Under the East African Community Management Act, seized smuggled goods under Article 199 are auctioned. Article 87 of the law on tax procedures provide an imprisonment between 2 and 5 years for tax evasion. I will be back shortly with international news.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
3 DR Congo ministers who are members of presidential candidate Moise Katumbi's party resigned Wednesday after the incumbent leader asked them who they would support in the coming elections. Katumbi, a wealthy 57-year-old businessman who once governed the mineral-rich Katanga region, announced earlier this month that he would run in the Democratic Republic of Congo's presidential election scheduled for late 2023. President Felix Tshisekedi Tshisekedi had summoned 5 ministers who were members of Katumbi's Assemblée pour la République, Together for the Republic party, to know their position, his office said on Wednesday. The Minister of Planning, the Minister of Transport and the Vice Minister of Health tendered their resignation later. Tshisekedi, who came to power in January 2019, has already announced that he intends to run for a second term next year. Italy said it was considering mandatory coronavirus tests for visitors from China following an explosion in cases there, with the northern Lombardy region already having introduced screening. The foreign minister said this Wednesday Lombardy was the first region to impose a lockdown when coronavirus hit Europe in early 2020. We're testing arrivals from China at Milan's Malpensa airport until January 30th, 2023. Swabs collected at Malpensa in recent days are being analyzed by the National Health Ministry to help identify any new variants. Health Minister Oriazo Chilazzi said we're evaluating the possibility of making tests mandatory for all passengers coming from China. Surveillance and prevention through sequencing is essential to promptly identify any new variants that may cause concern and which are not at the moment in circulation in Italy. Coronavirus infections have surged in China as it unwinds hardline controls that had torpedoed the economy and sparked nationwide protests. A court in Ivory Coast on Wednesday handed down life terms to 4 men convicted of abetting a jihadist attack on a resort that left 19 people dead. Judge Charles Bini announced that the country's commercial hub found the 4 guilty of the deeds for which they're accused and sentenced them to life imprisonment. The March 13, 2016 assault was the first jihadist attack in Ivory Coast, one of the West African's economy powerhouses. 3 men wielding assault rifles stormed the beach at Grand Bassam, a resort town 40 kilometers east of Abidjan, popular with Europeans, before attacking hotels and restaurants. The 45-minute bloodbath ended when Ivorian security forces shot dead 3 attackers. The 19 people killed comprised 9 Ivorians, 4 French citizens, a Lebanese, a German, a Macedonian, a Malian, a Nigerian, and a person who could not be identified. 33 people of various nationalities were wounded. Al-Qaeda's North African affiliate in the Islamic Maghreb, AQIM, claimed responsibility the same day, and 4 men were convicted of providing support for the operation. None of those suspected of playing a higher role in the attack were present in court, where it has issued an international arrest warrant against the alleged mastermind Kunta Dalla. A husband and his wife are in custody after the man allegedly impregnated his 2 daughters in Kandara sub-county, Muranga County. The husband is said to have committed the appalling acts with his wife fully aware of his deeds at their home in Gichengo, Muruka. According to reports, his wife are apprehended after one of his 4 daughters confessed she had been impregnated by her father in the full knowledge of her mother. Residents said that the 14-year-old, who had just completed her class 8, had been impregnated together with her sister. They say the father had occasionally tried to sleep with all of his 4 daughters in different instances, and the other 2 were only rescued by neighbors after they screamed. And that brings us to the end of today's program. The headlines once more. A team of Chinese medics sent to Rwanda by their government treated over 12,291 patients this year. Rwanda Biomedical Center RBC say the country has picked a number of lessons from the previous outbreaks in the region and locally. 3 Democratic Republic of Congo ministers who were members of presidential candidate Moise Katumbi's party resigned this Wednesday. Italy said it was considered mandatory coronavirus tests for visitors from China following an explosion in cases there. This was Alvino Ngali, and on behalf of Radio Imanzi, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year 2023. Have a wonderful night.